This is huge. I want to thank all of you for coming here. This is really heartwarming, and I want to extend my thanks to Millennium Restaurant for putting this on. We've done a lot of collaborations in the past. They've been out to Rancho Compasión, the farmed animal sanctuary. We have to support our vegan restaurants. So please get out here. Yes. I am so touched that so many of you came out to see me today. I know there's been something that I call the butter dramas, and some of you, I'm sure many of you have been following that. And so many of you have written to me, and tonight even spoken to me and said, what can we do to support you? Thank you so much for what you do, and we want to be able to give back to you. How can we do that? And my answer to you is, okay, subscribe to my YouTube channel, I'll say that. But aside from that, become a joyous, compassionate example of veganism and go out in the world and learn how to cook. Get into your kitchen and learn how to make the best food possible and inspire all your friends and neighbors. That is what you can do to give back to me, to become a shining example of a compassionate foodie. Well said. And that is what you can do. When I was fired from Miyoko's, the company I started 3.5 years ago, I did go through a period that was very, very dark and where I was very, very depressed. But a lot of people say to me right now, I'm so sorry about what you've gone through. Are you okay? And I want to assure you, I am very okay. First of all, yes. I did not win the bid to buy back my company, but I won your support. And who could ask for more than that? At the end of the day, this is a really strange thing to say perhaps in this world, but I am so glad that I did not make millions from the company I started. Had I made millions, I don't think I would be the person I am today. I wouldn't understand what other founders go through. And I have talked to so many who have gone through the same thing as me. After my removal from Miyoko's, I had one, because it was so public, I had one founder after another, mostly women. There were some men too, but they were mostly women, and many women of color calling me and telling me that they also had been removed from their company, but they couldn't go public. Mine was so public that I was able to speak about it. And I saw what happens in this capitalist system. Now, we can say veganism, but they're vegan products. But I want to point out it's still capitalism. And the question is, can you solve capitalism with more capitalism that's just of a different type? And those are the questions that I started asking. And I went down a path of learning about food systems, food history, reading the thoughts of people like Vandana Shiva and understanding what the Green Revolution was about and the implications on communities in India and Mexico and how it destroyed farming communities. 350,000 farmers in India committed suicide because of the Green Revolution and GMO seeds. And as vegans, we have so much compassion for animals, but we rarely think about, sometimes, I don't want to put this on everyone, but oftentimes we forget about what happens to the other stakeholders in the food system that are people, and often people of color and in other countries, because we're so obsessed with our food system here in the United States. And we think as long as we're vegan, we're saving the planet, we're saving the animals. At the same time, one of the things that I had to realize was that the food system that I was participating in, which was making products and selling them and fighting every other competition out there to get that small amount of shelf space so my product could be the one on shelf, meant that so many other little companies didn't get on shelf. Because we have a highly consolidated food system and there are fewer and fewer opportunities every year for smaller producers, cottage industries, mom and pop shops, smallholder farmers, because if you can't get big, if you can't scale, you can't get that shelf space. And so everyone takes lots of money. So we participate in this capitalist system, and we take money from private equity and venture capital. And the only way they can make money is if you sell your company, you know, let's say you've got 100 million in revenues, then you want to sell your company for 500 million or $1 billion so that the venture capitalists are happy. And who can afford to buy a company for 500 million or $1 billion? The Nestle's of the world. And so at the end of the day, your vegan company that you started out so passionately to save the animals is now owned by JBS, the world's biggest beef producer, or Nestle, or Unilever. And I can't tell you how many vegan companies are now owned by meat and dairy companies, but this is the truth. And we don't think about it because we don't want to. And those founders walk away very, very satisfied and happy because now they got their $50 million in the bank. But at the end of the day, what was the original mission? And if the original mission was to save animals, to save the planet, and to give back to our communities, then we need to dismantle the current highly consolidated food system. Today, 70 to 80% of what every American eats, the average American eats, comes from one of 10 multinational corporations. Kids grow up thinking that food comes out of a package, does not grow from the ground. And this has become completely normalized. At the same time, we no longer cook. America is a country where the average person spends maybe 30 minutes a day in their kitchen preparing food. And some of that time is just heating up something that's already pre-made. We don't even spend an hour a day eating and drinking. Compared to Mediterranean countries, France, Italy, Greece, and Spain that spend over 2 hours a day eating and drinking, not alone, not in front of the computer, not driving in a car, but across the table with friends and family as the highlight of the day. And we have lost the meaning of food, which is about breaking bread and creating community. Food and cooking are what define who we are as human beings. We are the species that actually cooks and prepares food and nurtures others with it. Other species know. I have a farmed animal sanctuary I started 10 years ago, Rancho Compasión. We have brochures out there, and I spent a lot of time observing other animals. And I'm telling you, they're not saying, oh, there's some yummy willow here, there's some grass, let's make a big salad and feed the team. I'm not putting, it's just different. It isn't about human exceptionalism, but preparing food, we learned that if we grew food together as we became an agrarian society, even when we were so-called hunter-gatherers, if we foraged together, if we hunted together, we were better off than if we did it alone. So our societies developed because we had to create food together, cook together, and nurture each other. And what started out as a band of humans became a big tribe, then became a village, and then it became cities, and it created what we have today. But over the last 70 years, we have lost our contact with food, our connection with food. In that deep, meaningful way that defines humanity and ties us together. And we need to recreate that. We need to, I used to make fun of the whole locavore movement because transportation is only a small footprint of the food system. And so I thought it's better to eat vegan food, which it is, than to obsess about being local. But I have also realized that the globalization of food has robbed everyday people of business opportunities, of livelihoods. I don't mean making a killing, I mean making a living. You can't just have a small business anymore and sell to your community and survive because it's so selective today. So I do believe that the way to fight back against the oligarchy, which everyone talks about today, but we don't think about how the oligarchy controls the food system as well. Corporations define what you eat. They decide what food is sold and what you eat. And the way we fight back is by empowering ourselves, getting back into our kitchens, learning how to cook, and feeding our neighbors, feeding our friends, bringing joy to everyone through food. And if you can do that, you will inspire people to become vegan. I live in a ranching community. There's dairy ranches, beef ranches all around me, and I teach cooking classes to my community members, and sometimes ranchers come. And they're not against veganism. They want to learn how to eat plants. They want to learn how to eat beans. We just have to embrace them and approach them with love and compassion, just as you do the animals that we are all out there fighting to save. So embrace your communities, please. Love, as they say, love thy neighbor in every single way. They are not your enemy. They are where you were before you became vegan. They're all pre-vegans, and we can inspire them. Yes.
I'm not a vegan, and I think your product is better than a lot of other dairy products I've had.
Thank you.
So I get, marketing, I'm sure is a big hurdle, all right? But to get yourself more out there, if you can, go for it. I'm serious.
Thank you. Well, it's not just a product. I think people resonated with what we stood for.
Yeah.
And I think people want businesses and companies and products that actually stand for something. And unfortunately, the big businesses think that you have to water it down, water the message down. You don't want to offend anybody, blah, blah, blah. But you don't have to sell to everyone. You just want to sell to the right audience. And you can do that by inspiring people. If I do anything again, I want to create a product that will get people to think about the food system, that will inspire them to make changes, small changes in their own way. And, if I make butter, I already gave out my recipe. So, and, I wrote the first words in in the vegan creamery in the introduction is, I can't remember it word for word, but if Helen of Troy was the face that launched 1,000 ships, I hope this is the book that launches 1,000 vegan cheese companies over the world. And that is really how I feel. We're in the age of protecting intellectual property so you can make a buck. But if you're making all the bucks, then somebody else isn't. So if we think that some product is the way to save the world, why wouldn't we want to share that information with others? Why are we hogging it for ourselves? I want to go back to where we have regional, local businesses and be able to support more people making a living rather than a handful of people making a killing. So I write cookbooks and, have my scrappy little YouTube channel, The Vegan Good Life with Miyoko, because I want you to feel comfortable. I want elevated vegan food to feel that it's accessible, that it's something that you can do, even if you haven't been trained. I want everyone to feel empowered with their culinary skills so that you can help everyone join in on that celebration. Cheese and butter making. How many of you have made the butter from my Instagram? Or not enough of you? Okay. It's 3 ingredients. Everyone can make butter. It takes 1 minute. Seriously, it's so easy. And when you learn how to do this, you'll be thinking, why did I always buy it? I mean, I have to admit, I buy products too, but I'm not a purist, nobody is, but we have to all develop the culinary skills. And if we can do that, and we can train our communities, we can slowly chip away at this highly globalized, consolidated food system that is controlled by a handful of corporations. By not playing into it, by bringing control of the food system back into your kitchens. You've heard of food sovereignty? I call it kitchen sovereignty. Owning your own kitchen and having control of what you eat. And I encourage everyone to embrace the joy of cooking and feeding your neighbors and your friends. I believe this is, by showing compassion to others, by feeding them, is the way we can change the world. You know what they say, the way to a person's heart is through their stomach. And it really, really is. When you can feed somebody something that's beautiful, you're sharing love, you're sharing, you're caring, you're compassion. And they will open up, but you show them scary videos or shout in their faces, they're not going to be as receptive. But if you feed them, maybe you'll have that opportunity to have a conversation about why you don't eat animals. So please, this is what you can do for me. Learn how to cook, share food, spread love, and spread butter.